You can follow every rule, never miss a court date, and still lose custody without breaking a single law. It sounds unfair, even impossible, but it happens more often than you might think. Custody battles aren't always about who's right or wrong. Sometimes, it's about subtle things you don't even realize matter. How you show up, what you document, or even the order in which you leave the home. Fathers get caught in these hidden traps, losing rights without ever stepping outside the lines. In this video, we're diving into the quiet ways men lose custody without any illegal actions, and what you can do to protect yourself before it's too late. Let's get started. Family courts don't operate in a vacuum. They're influenced by deep-rooted perceptions about what makes a good parent. Unfortunately, those perceptions often lean in favor of mothers as the primary caregivers, based on long-standing societal norms rather than the facts of each case. Even if a father has done everything right, attended every appointment, and provided unwavering support, these ingrained biases can tilt the scales against him. Judges, consciously or not, may view mothers as the natural choice for custody, expecting fathers to play a secondary role. This means that simply being law-abiding isn't enough. Fathers often have to work harder to prove their role isn't just important, but essential. It's a harsh reality that many don't anticipate until the courtroom blindsides them with decisions that seem unfair, even though nothing illegal has been done. This invisible bias sets the stage for many custody losses that catch fathers completely off guard. Leaving the marital home first might feel like the right thing to do. Maybe to reduce tension, protect the kids from conflict, or simply because it's what's expected. But in family court, that decision carries serious consequences. Courts often see the parent who remains in the family home as the primary caregiver, the one providing stability and continuity for the child. Even if the father left for perfectly valid reasons, judges may interpret his absence as a lack of involvement or commitment. This perception can tip custody decisions away from fathers who moved out first, regardless of their intentions or ongoing involvement. It's a silent trap that many men fall into without realizing how much power the family home holds in custody battles. Walking away from that physical space too soon can mean losing ground in court, and reclaiming it is far from easy. In custody battles, what you say and how you communicate matters just as much as what you do. Courts heavily rely on documented communication to gauge a parent's involvement and reliability. It's not enough to show up occasionally or have good intentions. Judges want proof that you're consistently engaged in your child's life. Fathers who don't keep detailed records, whether it's missed texts, vague messages, or informal plans, risk being seen as unreliable or disengaged, even if that's far from the truth. For example, failing to respond promptly to messages from the other parent or missing opportunities to document important decisions about the child's education, health, or extracurricular activities can be used against you. Courts tend to favor the parent who demonstrates clear, consistent communication and cooperation, viewing it as evidence of a stable environment for the child. Many fathers assume verbal agreements or good faith efforts are enough, but without tangible proof, those efforts don't hold much weight in court. This is why keeping records, texts, emails, calendars, even notes from conversations is essential. It builds a narrative that shows you're actively involved and committed, countering any claims of disinterest or neglect. Neglecting this aspect can silently erode your custody rights over time. Even perfectly law-abiding fathers lose ground simply because they didn't back their words with documentation. It's a quiet but powerful trap that few anticipate until the damage is done. Many fathers enter custody battles believing that the legal system and their ex-partner will operate with fairness and honesty. They trust that agreements will be negotiated reasonably, that both sides want what's best for the children, and that the court will balance everything fairly. But this assumption can be a costly mistake. Trusting goodwill without a firm legal strategy or oversight often leaves fathers vulnerable to agreements and court orders that subtly favor the other parent. The legal system is adversarial by nature. Your ex's attorney is dedicated to advocating for her interests, And the court's role isn't to ensure fairness between parents, but to protect the child's best interests, an often subjective standard influenced by many factors beyond the law. Fathers who rely solely on trust, or who avoid pushing back for fear of conflict, risk ending up with custody arrangements or financial obligations that don't reflect their true rights or involvement. Moreover, courts often look for evidence of active legal participation. Fathers who don't engage proactively with the process, missing hearings, failing to file necessary documents, or not challenging unfair proposals, may be perceived as less invested. This perception alone can shift custody decisions. Assuming fairness without backing it up with documentation, legal counsel, and assertiveness is a trap. Many fathers lose custody not because of any illegal act or neglect, but because they underestimated the importance of vigilance. Protecting your rights requires understanding that goodwill isn't a strategy and fairness is not guaranteed. It must be fought for. In the world of family law, even the smallest misstep can have outsized consequences, and many fathers fall victim to unintentional legal errors that cost them custody rights. These aren't dramatic offenses or criminal acts. They're simple procedural mistakes, missing filing deadlines, submitting incomplete paperwork, or arriving unprepared for hearings, that can quietly erode a father's standing in court. Family courts operate under strict rules and timelines, and judges expect parents to follow them precisely. When fathers miss a deadline to submit evidence or fail to respond to motions in time, the court may interpret these lapses as a lack of seriousness or commitment. Similarly, presenting incomplete or inaccurate documents can damage credibility and weaken a father's case, even if the errors were innocent or made out of confusion. Many fathers underestimate just how technical and unforgiving family law can be. It's not enough to be a good parent. You also have to be a competent legal participant. Showing up late, forgetting paperwork, or not understanding court procedures can all tip the scales against you without ever crossing the line into illegal behavior. This trap is especially dangerous because it's invisible until it's too late. Fathers often don't realize their small mistakes are adding up until a judge rules against them. The lesson is clear. Knowing the legal process and staying organized isn't optional. It's essential. In custody battles, procedure can be just as important as parenting, and overlooking this fact can cost fathers dearly. Even when fathers aren't granted physical custody, their ongoing involvement in their children's lives remains crucial. And yet, proving that involvement can be surprisingly difficult. Courts don't just look at who has the child overnight. They want clear, consistent evidence that both parents are actively participating in their upbringing. Fathers who live separately but are deeply involved in school events, medical decisions, and daily routines have a much stronger case than those who cannot demonstrate this involvement clearly. The problem is that without living in the same home, fathers must work harder to document and prove their engagement. It's not enough to visit occasionally or offer support in vague terms. Courts want proof. Emails with teachers, records of doctor's appointments, photos from extracurricular activities, or a detailed calendar showing visitation and involvement. Without this kind of documentation, a father's role can be underestimated or dismissed entirely. Many men assume their love and effort speak for themselves, but the legal system demands evidence over emotion. Over time, if a father can't clearly demonstrate his participation, courts may reduce his rights, favoring the parent who shows more consistent involvement. This erosion of rights isn't about breaking laws. It's about failing to meet the strict standards of proof the court requires. Understanding this reality means fathers must be proactive, keeping thorough records and staying engaged in every aspect of their children's lives isn't just good parenting. It's a legal necessity. Neglecting this can quietly chip away at custody rights, even when the law hasn't been broken. Many fathers enter custody battles with the hope that if they accept the initial terms, they can always revisit and improve their situation later. They believe the court will be flexible, that modifications are just a matter of time or changed circumstances. Unfortunately, this assumption can be one of the most damaging traps of all. Once a custody agreement or court order is finalized, changing it is rarely simple. Courts require a substantial, often sudden change in circumstances to reconsider custody arrangements or visitation rights. Routine disagreements, mild scheduling conflicts, or even gradual shifts in a parent's availability usually aren't enough to warrant a modification. Fathers who accept less than ideal terms early on with the plan to fix them later may find themselves locked into those arrangements indefinitely. What makes this trap even more insidious is that many fathers don't realize how narrow the window for appeals and modifications is. Deadlines pass quickly, and proving a significant change can require time, money, and legal resources, things that not every father has readily available. The court's emphasis on stability and continuity for the child means they hesitate to disrupt established arrangements without a compelling reason. Accepting early agreements without fully understanding their long-term implications often leads to frustration and helplessness. The hope that later will bring relief can vanish, replaced by the reality that final often means permanent. Fathers must be cautious and deliberate from the start, because once that order is signed, undoing or changing it is an uphill battle that few win. Losing custody rights without breaking a single law is a reality that many fathers face, often without warning or understanding of how it happened. The truth is, family courts operate in a complex system influenced by social biases, legal procedures, and strict standards that go far beyond simple fairness or parental love. Even the most devoted, law-abiding fathers can find themselves on the losing side when subtle factors work against them, whether it's societal perceptions favoring mothers, leaving the family home first, or failing to document involvement effectively. What makes these traps so dangerous is how quietly they work. There's no scandal, no crime, no blatant wrongdoing, just a series of overlooked details, assumptions, and missteps that add up to losing control over one of the most important parts of father's life. The legal system demands more than just good intentions. It requires vigilance, preparation, and a clear understanding of both the emotional and procedural rules at play. For fathers navigating custody battles, knowledge is power. Understanding these hidden pitfalls isn't about sowing fear, but about empowering men to protect their rights and relationships. Documentation, consistency, timely legal action, and realistic expectations are the keys to staying in the game. At the end of the day, losing custody without breaking laws isn't about failure. It's about recognizing the unseen challenges and meeting them head-on. Being proactive, informed, and prepared can make all the difference between losing and holding onto your place in your children's lives.